those granted for a health emergency, particularly not between the end of witness examinations and the beginning of closing arguments. I will remind teams and coaches that if there are any disputes arising out of this competition, they must be reported in accordance with competition rules. Your compliance with time requirements will be considered in individual performances, so please keep track of your time. Let's see. And then I'm going to swear in the team members, the gallery, the scoring panelists, and the witnesses. And after the swearing in, I'll ask you both to introduce your participating team members. So if everybody could raise their right hands and turn on your cameras. Thank you. Team members, do you promise that the presentation you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? Yeah. Witnesses, do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition? And gallery members, including teacher and attorney coaches, family members, and friends, please raise your right hands. Do you promise to represent yourselves as positive role models and to behave in a manner that exemplifies ethical and professional sportsmanship during and after this mock trial round? I'm going to assume that's a yes. And lastly, scoring panelists, please raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition? Thank you. All right, let's begin. If we could have the Fozzie team introduce their team members on the prosecution side.
I am Dustin Weisner. I'm doing the prosecution opening. I believe I am crossing Avery Becker and directing Kuzak, or it might be the other way around. I don't know. I just came from. I do both people for both sides, so sometimes I get confused until it happens.
That's fair. All right. And
I'm Kenzie Salee, and I'm gonna direct Alex Fuentes and then Mr. Van Owen.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Yasmin Herrera, and I'm directing Jordan Markowitz and crossing Taylor Perkins.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Xavier Royval, and I'm going to be Kyle Kuzak.
Thank you.
My name's Kyle. Today I'll be Detective Jordan Markowitz.
Great.
My name is Christina. I'll be doing Alex Fuentes.
Okay.
My name is Erica Marquez, and I'm going to be the timekeeper. And Your Honor, I think that concludes our council.
Great, thank you. Kermit, the Kermit team, can you please introduce yourselves?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Devin Aberetti. I'll be performing the opening statement as well as directing Avery Becker and crossing Alex Dufuentes.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Hannah Goldman. I will be conducting the direct examination of Blake Van Owen and the cross-examination of Detective Jordan Markowitz.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Naomi Kumar, and I will be directing Taylor Perkins and crossing Kyle Kuzak, as well as delivering the defense closing statement. And Your Honor, if our witnesses may introduce themselves at this time.
That would be great, thank you.
My name is Claire Watson, and I will be playing Avery Becker.
My name is Jacob Fisher, and I'm going to be playing Taylor Perkins.
My name is Charlie Meyer, and I will be playing Professor Blake Van Owen.
Does that conclude Team Kermit?
Yes, it does, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's have opening statements from Fozzie on prosecution, please.
Okay, I'm ready. Ooh, let me turn down my microphone gain real quick, a little bit. There we go. Camera. Rage, rivalry, and revenge. Rage, rivalry, and revenge. Rage, rivalry, and revenge led to the second-degree burglary and the first-degree murder. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today we talk about a case of a young man boiling to the brim with rage and arrogance. Avery Becker was a selfish, self-absorbed, and determined to get in his own way. Avery Becker had an irrational jealousy that led to the murder of Mackenzie Brackman. To better understand how this all led to burglary and murder, let me give you a little bit of background. Avery Becker competed on a high school mock trial scene. By all accounts, he really was a gifted and talented mock trial lawyer. However, his ego kind of got the best of him. He believed that he was better than his real-life coach, Mackenzie Brackman. Avery believed that he just didn't have to work hard at his craft because of his natural skills, and he didn't practice or do his assignments. Avery's pure arrogance peaked when he won the Best Attorney Award at regionals. He became even more complacent and just wouldn't put in the practice that the other students were doing. When Coach Brackman confronted him and challenged him to work harder and be a better team member, he became angry and he quit the team. Even Avery will tell you that he was so angry that he went and vandalized Mr. Brackman's white Porsche car, writing on it, "Worst Attorney Award," with a black Sharpie. When Mr. Brackman refused to let him back on the team, Avery texted his best friend, Alex Fuentes, that he was going to go to Brackman's house and vandalize it. If Brackman thinks he's upset about what I did to his car, wait until you see what I do to his house. Those words clearly show intent to commit burglary. And subsequent actions once inside the house show his intent to commit first-degree murder. And ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what Avery did. On March 6, 2020, he broke into the house with a plan to vandalize it. Mr. Brackman was still at home. When Brackman confronted him, a fight began. The evidence will show that the two of them struggled and that Avery stabbed him brutally with a butcher knife, leaving nothing but a dead body of a teacher and a pool of blood on the floor. Now, you will hear testimony in this case from several experts, and like in all cases, experts can differ on almost anything. But what we believe that cannot be debated on is clear evidence that Avery had motive and opportunity. That Avery's cell phone data shows that he was in the area of Mr. Brackman's house. That Avery fit the description of the attacker, as the defense will see on the security cameras at the house. The defense will try to paint a picture that Avery's motive was weak compared to the others. The key is that they can't prove, they won't prove that there was no motive. They will try as hard as they can to dispute the cell tower data, but they can't produce any phones to dispute that. Yet they will try to say that the fight and murder just didn't happen the way the police said it happened. Yet they will provide you with nothing to back this theory up except for speculation. This case is straightforward. One more time. Rage, rivalry, and revenge led to the murder of Mackenzie Brackman. Avery Becker must be held accountable. We ask that you return a verdict of guilty of burglary and murder.
Thank you, Mr. Wisner. Team Kermit, opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution just told you that this intruder and killer is our client, Avery Becker. But Avery Becker is a fallen victim of corrupt, uncertain, and inconclusive evidence. The statements of the prosecution are not evidence in this case. There is no evidence that the intruder in the videos is Avery. Throughout the videos, the intruder is masked, cloaked, and hidden under a devil Halloween mask, a loose-fitting flannel shirt, over a black hoodie, black pants, black shoes, and blue rubber gloves. You will not hear the police collect any items worn by the intruder from Avery and not from Avery's house, as well as no testimonies about any of the items worn by the intruder. In addition, there's no evidence at the crime scene that indicates the identity of the intruder. All we know is that the build appears similar to Avery, as well as Blair Rollins. But the description can match anyone. There are no distinguishing features. It could be a guy or girl for as far as we know. The prosecution will present other information in this case and claim it is evidence Avery committed this crime. You'll hear about cell phone location information from the prosecution telling you that this location information shows Avery committed this crime. Listen closely. What you hear is technology lacking in precision. It is not that important because Avery will tell you, and the evidence shows, that Avery didn't have her phone on the day of Mr. Brackman's murder, as well as a testimony under oath that Avery had an alibi at the time the murder was committed. Cell tower information at most can give you a generalized area where the cell phone might have been. Taylor Perkins, who testified on the day of March 6th when the murder occurred, that he and Avery ditched school, spent the entire day together searching for Avery's missing phone, and she was not committing a murder. Star prosecution witness Alex D. Fuentes not only admits to being the last person to physically possess Avery's phone, but also supplied other questionable information in this investigation the prosecution will claim as evidence, such as no forensic download of Alex's phone. The only evidence is screenshots of text messages that could have been doctored. Anyone who possessed Avery's phone could have sent those texts. Nothing to prove, nothing that Alex didn't send those texts to himself from Avery's phone. Lastly, that phone that has the text messages is not accessible and nowhere to be found. On that note, Avery's phone is left unattended at the Fresh Shack on March 5th, the day before the murder, where anyone at that location at the time had the opportunity to take it, including Alex D. Fuentes. The testimony will reveal that Alex and Avery had a strained and difficult relationship, but will not show that Avery killed Mr. Brackman. As the judge has instructed you, the prosecution has the burden of proving the elements of the crimes charged beyond a reasonable doubt. All the information the prosecution will claim as evidence in this case is questionable at best. The prosecution cannot meet their burden and prove this evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. As a defense, we have no obligation to present any evidence in this case, but we will. You will hear from our client, Avery Becker, alibi witness Taylor Perkins, and defense expert Blake Van Owen, as well as other individuals who had bigger motive to commit this crime. Law enforcement didn't look into any other suspects that had the opportunity and motive to commit this crime, such as Blair Rollins, who's a student I mentioned earlier that has the same build as Avery. Mr. Brackman lost the case of Jonathan Rollins, causing him to be the reason that Blair's father is in prison for life. Everyone does immature things, dumb things even. You can see vandalism everywhere and anywhere on public property. You can see it even in a public bathroom. Is it wrong to do? Yes. But there's a huge difference, not a small, but a significant difference between making a bad decision to vandalize and murder. All the facts and unknowns within this case should be taken into thought so that the real murderer is held accountable for their wrongdoings. In the end, the prosecution will fail to leave their burden and find that our client, Avery Becker, is indeed not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Navarrete. Fozzie, team, call your first witness.
Your Honor, I would like to call Alex Fuentes to the stand. Please state your name for the record.
Alex Fuentes.
Are you a student at CHS?
Yes, I'm a senior now, but last March I was a junior.
Do you know Avery Becker?
Yes, we've been really good friends.
How long have you guys been friends for?
We have been friends since I was a freshman.
Were you on the mock trial team?
Yes, I was. So was Avery.
Did Avery ever have problems with you or the moot court team?
Yes, all the time.
How so?
Not with me so much, but with his poor attitude and unwillingness to practice. He constantly came late to practice and he was never prepared.
What was the result of this behavior?
For a couple of years of after a couple of years of this disrespectful behavior, everyone had enough, especially coach.
What did coach do?
Coach demoted him to the B team.
And how did Avery react to that?
He was visibly mad. He thought he was better. He thought he was a better lawyer than Mr. Bragman, who was a real lawyer.
And then what happened next?
Well, he got his friend Taylor to quit, and that forced Mr. Bragman to put him back on the varsity team. Funny thing is, he won best attorney at regionals with no practice.
And then what happened after that?
Well, that next week of practice, Mr. Bragman tried talking to Avery about being more dedicated. They got into an argument and Avery stormed out.
Where did Avery go?
He left, but on his way out, he wrote Worst Attorney Award on Mr. Brackman's car.
What was Mr. Brockman's response?
He kicked Avery off the team.
And how did your friend react?
He was angry, but he wanted to get back on the team, so he asked me to talk to Mr. Brackman for him.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did, but Mr. Brackman wouldn't budge. He was done with Avery.
Shortly before the murder, did you talk to Avery?
Yes, we texted each other. He wanted to ask Mr. Brackman again to forgive him. When I told him he wouldn't, he said Mr. Brackman would regret it because he was going to go to his house and vandalize it.
When did he say he was going to do that?
I wasn't sure, but he said he was going to wait until Mr. Brackman went to work and then break and destroy it.
Have you ever taken Avery's phone?
Absolutely not.
And what happened to your phone?
Nothing really. I had it until about 3 months ago when I traded it for a new one.
And have you ever seen Avery have a temper?
Yes, I have seen him get very mad and become destructive, like when he vandalized Mr. Brackman's car.
Do you know Blair Rollins?
I barely know him. I've seen him around school, but that is about it.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Miss Cifuentes.
Good afternoon.
You say Avery and you are friends, right?
Yes.
Did you and Avery ever hang out together?
No.
So you never hung out with Avery outside of mock trial?
I have. Well, somewhat.
You did not hang out with Avery outside of mock trial?
Objection asked and answer.
Your Honor, may I please rephrase the question?
Yes.
Besides mock trial, did you and Avery ever hang out?
No.
Do you think Avery didn't treat the teammates in a kind manner?
You cut out. Can you repeat it?
Did you think Avery didn't treat the teammates in a kind manner?
It's complicated.
Would you say Avery brought the team down?
That would be complicated as well.
So is that a yes?
Yeah.
Was Avery always late to practice?
Yes.
Did being late constantly make you mad?
Make me mad?
Yes.
No, not me, but coach, yeah.
Have you asked why Mr. Brackman put up with Avery?
Objection relevance.
Ms. Navarette?
Your Honor, I'm simply laying down the foundation of Mr. Brackman, Avery, and Alex's relationship within each other.
Overruled. Proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you want me to ask the question again?
Yes, please.
Have you asked why Mr. Brackman put up with Avery?
Yes.
Did you look up to Mr. Brackman?
I did.
Did Avery treat Mr. Brackman badly?
That's complicated.
Is that a yes?
No, it's not a yes or no. It's very complicated, like to answer.
Ms. Fuentes, I'm asking questions, and could you please give me a simple yes or no?
Sure,
Thank you. Did you take your work seriously?
I did.
Did Avery always wing it without preparation?
Can you repeat it? I couldn't hear you.
Did Avery always wing it without preparation?
Sometimes.
But Avery is the one winning the awards, correct?
Correct.
Did you like how Avery got awards for winning?
Did I like Avery winning?
I'll repeat the question.
Okay.
Did you like how Avery got awards for winning?
I mean, if she won, then she won. So yeah,
Do you think it is fair that Avery wins the awards?
Objection relevance. I don't see how this has anything to do with the murder case.
Ms. Navarette?
Your Honor, I'm simply presenting to the jury the relationship that Avery and Alex had.
And Ms. Navarette, how is that relevant to the case?
It is relevant to the case to show that Alex's credibility.
you cut out. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
We're on an objection right now, Ms. Fuentes.
Oh, okay.
Hold on one second. We'll finish it up. I'm going to overrule the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you think it is fair that Avery wins the awards?
I mean, yeah.
Would it be more fair that you won the awards?
Well, to me, the awards didn't matter. I just really liked the class.
You said in your witness statement, and I quote, "It is a slap in the face when somebody who did not work hard and who only did an average job lucks out and gets a Best Attorney Award for all the wrong reasons." You remember saying that in your witness statement, right?
I do. I do remember saying that.
Avery won these awards, and I quote, "not because of any real talent." Do you remember saying this?
Yes.
Did Avery leave practice one day very angry?
Yes.
Avery was then demoted to the B team, rightfully, right?
He was. Correct.
Mr. Brackman should have pressed criminal charges against Avery, correct?
Yes.
Since Avery was kicked off the team, which meant the mock trial team would have to forfeit, right? Forfeit state?
It's complicated. So it's like a maybe, yes, no.
So that'll be a yes.
I'm gonna go with no.
This made the whole team furious.
No.
Objection not in the form of a question.
Overruled.
If you are unaware of what you said in the witness statement, I could pull it up to relect your recollection.
Objection improper impeachment. In order to impeach, you have to have a concrete question that the witness is not answered.
Ms. Navarette?
Your Honor, I simply asked Ms. Fuentes if, since Avery was kicked off the team, which meant the mock trial team would have to forfeit state, she was confused towards where I was talking about in her witness statement, and I wanted to recollect her recollection.
Okay, I'm going to sustain the objection on foundation.
Thank you. After being kicked off the team, did Avery text you?
She did.
Did Avery first text you about getting back on the team?
She did.
Friends would do anything to help their friends, correct?
That is correct.
Including getting them back onto the team.
Can you repeat it? You cut out.
Including getting them back onto the team.
Correct.
But you were hesitant to help Avery, right?
No, not really. I tried helping her out, but no.
You agreed to try to help Avery.
I did because she asked me to help, so I helped her out.
You said that you would help, but you also thought the team was better off without Avery, correct?
I mean, it does.
Is that a
Yeah.
yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Also, you were excited for the larger role you would have with Avery gone, right?
Yes.
Then Avery started texting about vandalizing Mr. Beckman's house, correct?
Yes.
This happened right after you agreed to help out.
Yes.
You were asked to bring in the phone that contains the text messages between you and Avery to the police, right?
No.
Would you like me to pull up a witness statement to? Oof. Never mind. I'll move on. Did you forget your phone at home on the day of the interview?
Yes.
So the police never saw the actual text on your phone?
No.
Only screenshots?
Yes.
So you currently do not have the phone with the screenshots?
I'm sorry?
So you currently do not have the phone with the screenshots? Oh, sorry, wrong question. Was the phone the?
I'm sorry. I was meant to say you're good when you messed up. Can you continue?
So you currently do not have the phone with the screenshots?
No.
Can text be deleted?
Well, personally, I'm gonna explain. Mine broke, so I sent the screenshots before it broke.
But my question, Ms. DeFuentes, was can text be deleted?
I didn't
Objection
know.
asked and answer.
I'm gonna allow it. Overruled.
Would you like me to restate the question?
Yes, please.
Can text be deleted?
No, they cannot be deleted.
So texts from your phone are not able to be deleted.
Yes.
Are the texts dated?
Stated?
Dated.
Oh, dated. No.
So the text could have been sent at any time.
Correct.
Is it possible to change the name of the person you were texting?
If they wanted to, yes.
So let's travel back to the day before the murder. You saw Avery after he was kicked off the team, correct?
Give me a second. So I was walking. Yes, I did see her.
Was this at the Fry Shack?
It was.
So you were at the Fry Shack the day before the murder.
Correct.
You remember Avery thanking you for helping her get back on the team, right?
No.
Presented within your witness statement on lines 114 and 115, you said you remember Avery thanking
Objection
you.
and proper impeachment. I don't believe that we should be able to just read off of the witness statement unless they actually say something that has been wrong.
Mr. Weisner, I agree with that objection. There's another objection that subsumes that as well. Do you know what that objection is?
The closest I'm seeing is improper impeachment.
That's fine. That's fine. Ms. Navarette?
Your Honor, would it be better if I were to pull up the witness statement on the screen so that I could?
I'm gonna sustain Mr. Weisner's objection. It's improper impeachment because no foundation has been properly laid to proceed with the impeachment. So I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Regarding cell phones, did Alex let you play on his phone? Did Avery let you play on his phone? Sorry.
Yes.
At the Fry Shack.
Correct.
On March 5th, the day before the murder?
Yes, before the murder.
So you had Avery's phone physically in your hands on the day of March 5th, correct?
Correct.
Objection asked and answer.
Overruled.
Just to clarify to the jury, you had Avery's phone in your hands before Avery physically left the Fry Shack on March 5th, the day before the murder took place, correct?
You cut out on the. Can you repeat it?
Yes. To clarify to the jury, you had Avery's phone in your hands before Avery physically left the fry shack on March 5th, the day before the murder took place, correct?
I did have it, but I left it right on the spot.
So that's a yes, correct?
No, like I said, it's not a yes. I had it, that's a yes, but I put it back where she was before.
Thank you, Mr. Fuentes. No more questions.
Redirect.
I hope that's a no and not that Kenzie's audio isn't working, because that happened last round too.
Hello.
There she is.
Okay.
Ms. Saley, do you have a redirect?
Sorry. No.
No? Okay. Ms. Cifuentes, you may step down. Prosecution's next witness.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Detective Jordan Markowitz.
Okay. Detective Markowitz.
Please state your first and last name for the record.
Jordan Markowitz.
And who do you work for?
I work for the Denver Police Department.
What is your job?
I work as a detective
And how long have you been a police officer for?
for 13 years.
And how long have you been a detective for?
7 out of those 13.
How many cases have you investigated as a homicide detective?
Hundreds of cases.
Have you had any training with cell phone technology?
I have, yeah, extensive training.
Okay. What did that course entail?
Well, I have a cell phone technology and forensic recovery certification from the American Academy of Law Enforcement. And we had a course, it was a 3-day training course. It taught us how to use different types of cell phone data and records and how to use forensic software, such as the Celebrite system that we use.
What is that system?
It's a system which allows us to download data from cell towers.
How many times have you analyzed this data as a detective?
Well, I've downloaded the contents of hundreds of phones, and I've obtained and interpreted cell tower data in over 50 cases.
Your Honor, we would like to have Detective Markowitz entered as an expert in detective work and cell phone analysis.
Okay, any voir dire?
I have no voir dire, Your Honor.
All right. Detective Marquez will be qualified in detective work as an expert and in cell phone technology as an expert.
Detective Markowitz, when were you assigned to this case?
On March 6, 2020.
And what happened?
Well, at first, a passerby reported seeing somebody passed out on the front porch of 454 South Flower Street.
Then what happened?
Well, paramedics first responded, but they called 4 officers upon the scene after they found victim Bregman dead inside his residence.
What did you first observe when you arrived?
The front door was open. The victim was face down on the floor in a pool of blood, and there was a large knife visible on the floor just past the victim, very close to him.
What else?
Well, his shirt was blood soaked around the upper left back and shoulder area.
And what was the cause of death?
Very obvious to see that the victim had been stabbed.
Your Honor, may I share with everyone these next few exhibits I'm going to talk about?
You may.
Thank you. Okay. Detective, I'd like to show you what has been marked as exhibit 1. What is it?
It shows the victim's body as viewed from the inside of the residence.
And is this scene an accurate depiction of the...
Yes, it is, definitely. It's very horrendous.
Okay. Detective, I'd like to show you what has been marked as exhibit 2. And can you tell me what it is, or tell the jury?
Bregman laying inside of his house after just been murdered. Pictures from inside the residence.
And do you feel this is an accurate depiction of the scene? Detective.
I didn't hear that response. Detective, did you respond to that?
Yes, that's an accurate depiction of the scene I saw.
Thank you.
Okay. Detective, I'd like to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 3. Can you please tell the jury what it is?
It's a close-up picture of the victim's bag, and the stab wound is clearly visible.
And do you feel this is an accurate depiction?
Yes, it is.
And this last, okay. 1 second. Detective, I'd like to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 5. Can you please tell the jury what it is?
It's a picture of the knife that it appeared as it appeared on the scene.
And do you feel this is an accurate representation of what you saw?
Yes, it is.
And this final one. Can you please, I'm showing you Exhibit 6. Can you please explain what it is?
Yeah, this is a picture taken of the knife inside the crime lab.
Okay. And you feel this is an accurate representation of what was at the scene?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to enter Exhibits 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 into evidence.
Any objection from the defense?
I object to lack of foundation, Your Honor. Detective Markowitz did not testify if he recognized these exhibits or how he recognized these exhibits, so it is unclear how this correlates to his work in the case.
May I respond?
Yes.
So, sorry, my screen's black.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Detective Markowitz has been recognized as an expert, and he is as an expert and the detective that was at the crime scene, which we already established that he was, and I had asked him if these were accurate depictions of what he saw, and he agreed, and I think that's more than enough foundation.
I'm going to allow the exhibits. Exhibits 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. You had a 3-day cell phone technology training,
I do.
and you have been using this training for a lot of other cases since. Would you agree that cell phone technology changes over the course of time?
Well, we're very close to our, we keep up to date and we have the best representation of every sequence.
But yes, cell phone technology does change over the course of
Objection
time.
asked and answered.
Overruled.
I'll restate the question, but yes, you would agree that cell phone technology training changes over the course of time?
Over the course of time.
But you only had this one training?
Extensive training.
So it could be possible that your training may not have covered updated cell phone technology?
If we're that far behind, but I don't believe that. We're from the American Academy of Law Enforcement. We know what we're
Thank
doing.
you. Thank you. You answered my question. Was this the same training that you applied to the case of Mackenzie Brackman's death?
Yeah, well, I've had this training and we use that in a lot of cases. So, I mean, yeah.
Detective Markowitz, it was a yes or no question. The paramedics arrived on the scene before they called the police?
They did arrive on the scene before they called the police. And then when they arrived, that's when they found out it was time to call the police.
So someone was at the crime scene before you?
As it states, were paramedics at the scene.
Okay. And changes could have been made between the victim dying and you arriving at the crime scene since there was someone there before you?
I would say the chances are very small since there's paramedics at the scene who know exactly what they're doing.
But it was a yes or no question, so it could be possible?
There's always a possibility that somebody would do something like that, but in this case, I would say the chances are very unlikely.
Yes or no, Detective Markowitz?
Objection asked and answered.
Your Honor, I would actually like to object to Mr. Weisner's objection because as he did not direct examine Detective Jordan Markowitz, This violates a competition rule and he should not be able to object during this cross-examination.
Okay, I hear a couple of things going on, so let me just pull them apart. Are you suggesting that there's a violation of the competition rules for Mr. Wisner to be objecting during the cross-examination as opposed to I think it's Ms. Saley who's doing the direct?
Yes, I am, Your Honor, since Mr. Wisner did not do the direct examination of this witness.
Okay. I was wondering about that myself. Mr. Wisner, do you have a response to that?
The first round, it happened the entire time. The second round, it didn't. I don't know. I'm kind of unclear at that. To be honest, I'm the only lawyer that's done this for more years, and my other lawyers won't object. So I kind of usually just pick up the slack. I can stop if you see that necessary, though, Judge.
Okay. I am going to ask that for this witness and for all future witnesses that whomever the attorney is that is doing the direct examination also do the objections for the cross-examination. I think that's fair. And then I think you had a legal objection, Mr. Wisner, that I do want to take up that I believe was relevant before we move on. Can you restate that objection?
It was hearsay, but not hearsay. Honestly, I don't really remember. I think it was argumentative.
All right.
It was, she asked the question and then just kept asking, yes, it's a yes or no question again. And I
Oh,
didn't
so
feel
it
like
was
that
asked and answered. Yeah, I asked and answered,
asked and
and I agree with that. So we're going to sustain that objection, but then from now on, we'll hear from Ms. Saley for objections.
It's actually me, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Herrera.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying.
Mhm.
All right, proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. As a detective, it is important to take photographs.
As a detective, it's always important to be on the scene, know what you're doing, and of course, as a take photographs, very important of what we're doing. It shows an accurate representation of the work that we do, the work that we try to do, the people that we try to find, and yeah, we're working really hard on it.
And taking photographs also help preserve your evidence.
Pictures are always good. There's many ways to preserve evidence. Pictures is one of them. We work with that. We try to do the best work we can.
Thank you. Thank you. You already answered my question. Photographs also help you refer back to the scene of the crime.
Like I just explained, photographs can help us a lot during our investigation. We take these pictures to provide evidence during court. We know exactly what we're doing, and it's all very important work.
However, some of the photographs you took became corrupted.
There's always a possibility of something going wrong in the line of work. We try and preserve our evidence the best way we can, like I just explained.
But some of the photographs did become corrupted during your investigation of this case.
Some of the photographs can become corrupted during any case.
Specifically, the photographs with the blood spatter.
That could well be. I mean, we try and do the best work we can, maintain evidence, preserve evidence, and we just do our job. We work hard.
And these corrupted photographs of the blood spatter were never recovered.
These photos of the blood splatters, we took them. There's a possibility. We are working on our case, of course. We try and maintain all the amount of evidence we can find and preserve all that so we can use that in court.
Okay. So, but the photographs were never recovered.
Sometimes that happens. Like I said, we try and maintain our evidence as well as we can without anything ever becoming corrupted so we can use it in court.
Detective Markowitz, I don't believe you answered my question. Were the photographs of the blood spatter ever recovered?
Well, as in this case, I think they were not.
Thank you. So your interpretation of these photographs are now based on memory?
No, my interpretation of the scene is from the pictures that I took, and you've seen what happened.
However, you did corrupt some of the photos, so the interpretation of those photos are based on memory?
We use evidence, and like you said, we just entered multiple exhibits. I don't really understand what those pictures have to do with it.
I wasn't talking about those pictures, Detective Markowitz. I was talking about the corrupted photographs.
Exactly, me too.
Okay. You are not an expert in blood spatter.
I'm an expert from the American Academy of Law Enforcement. I've had extensive training throughout my life. Cell phone data technology, we go through extensive training in the academy.
Detective Markowitz, I'm going to stop you there. I asked, you are not an expert in blood spatter.
No, an expert in blood splatters?
So your non-expert interpretation of these corrupted photographs are solely based on your memory of a day months ago.
They're based on accurate depictions of the scene. We know exactly what's going on. Like I said, we try and preserve our work really well, work hard, and so we can use all this evidence in court later.
All right, I'm now going to move on to the cell tower data. You testified about the cell tower records in this case?
I've had extensive training and I know a lot about cell tower data, especially in cases like these. I've had.
Thank you. Thank you. You answered my question. I'm now going to refer you. Oh, sorry, my apologies. On your exhibit where you compiled the cell tower data, you added the notation Rollins house.
We try and create an accurate depiction of what's going on in these pictures, especially with the cell tower data. So it could be necessary that you can put something on there, yeah.
You didn't answer my question. You included the notation Rollins house?
In this one, yes, I think I did.
And who lives at the Rollins house?
Rollins.
Thank you. You believe you thoroughly investigated this case?
Like I said, we've had extensive training. I've had hundreds.
Thank you. It's a yes or no question, Detective Markowitz. Yes or no, you believe you thoroughly...
Argumentative.
I'm sorry.
Finish.
Ms. Herrera, did you have an objection?
Yeah, she's argumentative. She needs to let my witness finish.
I'm going to sustain. He does need to be able to finish and answer the question, but Ms. Goldman, you can definitely follow up.
Okay, I'll restate the question. You believe you thoroughly investigated this case?
Like I said, I've had extensive training. I've done over 50, now hundreds of these cases. We know exactly what we're doing. We try and preserve our evidence so we can use it in court. We know what we're doing.
Did you find Avery Becker's fingerprints on the crime scene?
Like I said, we have a very accurate depiction of the scene. We've had a lot of training in this. You can see the pictures for yourself, and we know what we're doing.
Did you find Avery Becker's fingerprints?
No.
I have no further question, Your Honor.
Redirect. Any redirect?
Yasmin?
Sorry, Your Honor, no.
Detective Markowitz, thank you. You can step down. Prosecution's next witness.
I think that might be me with Kyle Kuzak.
Okay. Kyle Kuzak.
Xavier, I'm ready when you are.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Please state your name for the record.
Kyle Kuzak.
What is your occupation?
I'm a crime scene reconstructionist for the Denver Police Department.
What is your prior training?
I've attended the police academy and several reconstruction trainings.
How long have you been a crime scene reconstruction expert?
I've been investigating crime scenes for a little over 19 years.
During that time, what types of crimes have you investigated and reconstructed?
Thousands. I've done home invasions, like burglaries, murder, domestic violence, and so on and so forth.
Have you testified in court before?
Yes, hundreds of times.
Your Honor, I would like to have CSR Kuzak recognized as an expert in crime scene reconstruction.
Any voir dire?
No voir dire, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Kuzak, you'll be qualified in crime scene reconstructionist as an expert.
Thank you.
Mr. Kuzak, how did you become involved in this case?
I was assigned by the Denver Police Department.
When was that?
It was on March 6th of 2020. I arrived at the scene as other members of my lab were processing it.
What did you do next?
I followed the standard procedure for crime scene reconstruction.
And what were those?
First of all, I was methodical in processing the scene. We bagged and tagged all the evidence. We also photographed it.
Also, Xavier, real quick, do you mind turning on your camera?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I completely forgot.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Where were those?
Wait, what?
What were those?
First of all, I was methodical in processing the scene. Oh, wait, no. That was already the question you asked.
Oh, then what did you do?
I followed Bevel's event analysis methodology to reconstruct the scene.
And what makes this system so optimal?
The process is thorough, and CSR experts prepare an initial report that must go through a peer review and final reconstruction report.
And what kind of result does this lead to?
We believe it leads to an extensive review and an accurate reconstruction of the scene.
Did you personally review the autopsy in this case?
Yes, I did.
What were the results?
The autopsy established that the victim was stabbed only one time, and this was the cause of death.
And how was the victim stabbed?
The knife blade had been inserted facing partially forward and towards the victim's scapula.
Kyle, do you have what had been marked as Exhibit 19 in front of you?
Yes, let me grab it. All right.
What is this?
It's an autopsy report.
Is this the same report that you reviewed as part of this case?
Yes, it is.
Are these the same findings you reviewed at the time?
Yes.
What were the findings?
The findings were that the victim was killed by a stab wound upper left side of his back.
Your Honor, we would like to have Exhibit 19, the autopsy report, entered into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
In this case, what did your thorough investigation reveal?
Revealed
Mr.
that the murder.
Mr. Wisner, let me stop you so I can admit the exhibit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that.
That's
I saw
okay.
5 minutes remaining and I started
Yeah,
to get
I understand. Exhibit 19 will be admitted. Go right ahead.
In this case, what did your thorough investigation reveal?
It revealed that the murderer approached the front door and tried to get in. When the murderer couldn't get in, they went to the side gate and came into the backyard. The murderer then came into the back sliding door.
Then what happened?
Based on the evidence, a struggle between the defendant and the victim occurred. We know this because of the scuff marks by the door and the broken plate in that area.
What happened next?
We know that the victim had you just said that.
Then what happened, and then there's what happened next. It's
Okay.
same.
We know that the victim had a knife and that during the struggle, the murderer took it away and stabbed the victim in the scapula.
How did you know that the victim had a knife?
The kitchen knife drawer was open and the knife block also had a knife missing. This is what makes our analysis the most probable one.
Why is that?
The murderer would not know the house well enough to break in, locate a knife, and attack the victim.
Can you describe them in
Objection,
the
Your Honor. Speculation.
Mr. Wisner?
My response is that this is an expert in crime scene analysis, and he's simply, well, analyzing the crime scene. He is analyzing what he thinks the murder would do in his professional opinion.
Sustained.
Can you describe the manner and how the stabbing was done? Oh, wait, no, that was the one that... Then what happened?
The victim tried to escape out the front door, and as he went towards the door, he pulled out the knife, which caused him to bleed out and die.
Does the defendant fit the description as the person in the videos?
Yes.
Did your analysis of the cell phone data also place the defendant in the area?
Yes.
So based on everything you reviewed, the crime scene, the videos, the autopsy report, and the cell phone data, what is your conclusion?
That Avery Becker broke in and stabbed Mr. Brackman to death after a struggle with the knife.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. I have a few cross-examination questions. Mr. Kuzak.
Yes.
Sorry, excuse me. Mr. Kuzak, was there any physical evidence, such as DNA, at the crime scene to tie this murder to one specific person?
No, there was not.
When you arrived at the crime scene, did you observe a dead body?
Yes, I did.
Was this dead body Mackenzie Brackman's dead body?
Yes, it was.
And you are a crime scene investigator, correct?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Kuzak, I'm now referring you to what has been marked as Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 4 on page 58 and 61. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
What are these exhibits?
These are photos of the dead body.
Is Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 1 true and accurate representations of the position that you observed Mr. Brackman's dead body in?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move to admit Exhibits 1 and 4.
I believe they were already admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Then I will move on. Mr. Kuzak, you referred to both of these exhibits as being true and accurate representations of what you saw when you arrived at the crime scene, yes?
Yes.
Thank you. No more questions.
And Ms. Kumar, you were correct to ask for Exhibit 4 to be admitted. That had not been previously admitted, only Exhibit 1, so I want to correct that for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry for the confusion.
No, that was my fault. And were you done with your questioning, Ms. Kumar?
No further questions at this time. Sorry.
Any redirect?
I would like a quick redirect if I could. And do you think I could get a time check?
Sure. Not sure who's keeping time, but
I was timing, but I was not expecting the redirect, but you have plenty of time. You have
Okay,
like over
sounds good.
30
That's
Yes,
all I
I
wanted to
have
know.
the time. You have over 13 minutes left.
Yeah.
Oh
you're
my,
good.
okay.
Do you need me to turn my camera back on?
Yes, please, I will too. We can have a camera on party. So once again, I will just ask you this one question. Based on everything in your professional expert opinion that you reviewed, the videos, the autopsy report, the extensive review of the cell phone data, what is your professional conclusion?
Well, my professional conclusion would be that Avery Becker broke in, essentially, stabbed Mr. Brackman to death after a struggle.
Thank you. No further questions.
you may step down. Any more witnesses from the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
And does the prosecution rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any witnesses from the defense?
The defense would like to bring Avery Becker to the stand. Can you state your name for the record?
My name is Avery Becker.
What grade were you in last year?
I was a senior at Colorado High School.
Were you a part of any clubs in high school?
Yeah, I was part of the mock trial team.
Did you enjoy being in mock trial?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it.
Who was your coach?
Our coach was Mackenzie Brackman.
Did he help improve the team?
Overall, yeah, we would not be where we were without him.
The practice after regionals, did Mr. Brackman congratulate you on your awards?
No, he did not. I was kind of surprised. I was expecting him to at least acknowledge that I had won some awards, but instead he just focused on the fact that I didn't use his scripts.
How then did you leave practice?
I was frustrated, so I ended up leaving practice early.
Where were you located in the room before you left?
I was located next to the whiteboard.
Why were you located at this location in the room?
I was planning on writing down some positives and negatives from the tournament on the whiteboard.
What was in your hand at the moment?
I was holding a whiteboard marker.
This marker was grabbed from where?
The whiteboard.
When you officially left practice, what was in your hand?
A whiteboard marker. I realized later that it was actually a permanent marker, but at the time, I was 100% sure that it was a whiteboard marker.
The next day, where did you go?
The next day, I went to the Fry Shack.
Did you ever go try to talk with Mr. Brackman to apologize?
Yes, I did. I did that the next day. I'm sorry.
What was the purpose of the apology?
I wanted to apologize for vandalizing Mr. Brackman's car. I I was very ashamed of what I'd done, and I was so remorseful.
Were you able to meet with Mr. Brackman?
No, I was not. His secretary was there and told me that Mr. Brackman wasn't available.
What did you offer to do for Mr. Brackman?
I offered to get a job over the summer to be able to pay for the car to get fully repainted.
So let's fast forward to the day of the murder. On the day of the murder, who were you with?
I was with Taylor Perkins.
Were you with Taylor the whole day?
Yes, I was.
Why were you with Taylor on the day of the murder?
I had lost my phone the day before, and so Taylor and I went around town to search for it.
How did you try to track your phone without knowing where it could be?
We used Taylor's phone to call and text my phone, and we went to the locations we had been the previous day to see if anyone had seen it.
Did you have your phone on March 6th, the day of the murder?
No, I did not. We didn't
Where was
find
the
it.
last? Oh, sorry. Where was the last time you remember using your phone?
The last time I remember using my phone was on March 5th at the Fry Shack.
We're going to go back to the day before the murder when you had your phone at the Fry Shack. Who did you go with to the Fry Shack on this day?
I went with Taylor.
Who goes to the Fry Shack that you know of?
A lot of people go to the Fry Shack from CHS. Pretty much all of the mock trial team goes there.
Have you seen the student Alex Cifuentes at the Fry Shack before?
Yes, I have.
Did you see Alex there on the day of March 5th?
Yes, I did.
You and Taylor played games on what device at the Fry Shack?
We played games on our respective phones. I played games on my phone, and I lent my phone to Alex because she wanted to play a game on it.
Who was the last person you remember having your phone?
That would be Alex Cifuentes.
Before leaving the Fry Shack, do you recall having your phone with you?
No, I do not.
One big question is, do you know the student named Blair Rollins?
Yes, I do.
Do you go to the same high school?
We did, yes.
So you saw Blair around school?
Yeah.
Would you say Blair and you are the same build?
Yeah, I would. I mean, anyone looking at us would not be able to tell us apart, especially if they didn't know us.
Does Blair know Mr. Brackman?
Yes, she does. Blair's father was represented by Mr. Brackman in a criminal case and ended up receiving a life sentence.
Did Blair have any friends from your school that you know of?
Yeah, Blair was friends with Alex Cifuentes.
Alex Cifuentes, the witness?
Yes, that's correct.
Would you consider you and Alex friends?
Not at all, no.
Do you and Alex have similar interests?
In regards to mock trial, yes. We both liked the crosses and the closings.
Why aren't you and Alex friends if you have things in common?
Since we liked the same
Objection,
parts of
relevance. I don't see how the relationship between Alex and them being friends has anything to do with the murder trial.
Ms. Navarette?
Your Honor, I'm simply laying down the foundation to present to the jury the relationship between Alex and Avery, past and present.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you like me to restate the question?
Yes, please.
Why aren't you and Alex friends if you have things in common?
We both liked the same parts of mock trial, and we pretty much competed on who would be able to do those parts. And I overall was better at them. Not to brag, but I was better at them, so I ended up getting those parts. And I think a lot of our relationship was rooted in jealousy.
Do you and Alex ever text each other?
No, not at all.
Would you ever ask Alex for help?
Under no circumstances.
But Alex did claim to have received texts from you regarding what?
Alex claimed to receive texts.
Objection, hearsay Alex claimed was used in the question, and I don't believe that is not hearsay.
Ms. Navarette?
I'm confused on the objection. Could you please rephrase?
Can I hear the question one more time?
We're going to move on. I'm going to overrule.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Avery, you won the Best Attorney Award in the Regional Championships, isn't this correct?
Yes, I did.
You feel like Brackman never gave you any credit for what you did, isn't this correct?
Overall, no.
You don't think Brackman was a good attorney, correct?
Objection, hearsay.
Mr. Wisner?
It's in the affidavit. She says it directly, that she doesn't think that Mr. Brackman is a good attorney.
And I don't think the question as asked was hearsay, so I'm going to allow it.
You don't think that Brackman was a good attorney, correct?
I mean, from what I hear from other people, he wasn't great.
You said in your statement that Brackman was jealous of you, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
You said that Brackman had an enormous ego, correct?
Most of the time, yeah.
Brackman always criticized your work, didn't he?
Most of the time, yeah.
He called you lazy, didn't he?
Yeah.
He always interrupted you when you tried to talk in class, didn't he?
I mean, I guess so.
Yet you showed him by winning the Best Attorney Award, didn't you?
I mean, I think I proved that I'm a good lawyer and that my methods are good.
And even then, Brackman just kept on picking you afterward, didn't he?
I mean, yeah.
This started to make you angry, didn't it?
I mean,
Objection, relevance.
Wisner?
The question was if it made her angry. I feel like rage has a lot to do with the murder in this case, and the anger of the assailant before the murder happened, I feel like is very relevant to the case.
Oh, overruled.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
This made you very angry, didn't it?
I mean, I was frustrated.
You called him the worst coach in the state, didn't you?
Yes, I believe I did say that.
You told him the team would have lost regionals without you, didn't you?
I believe I did.
And is this when you stormed out of practice?
I believe it was around that time, yes.
And after this, is this when you wrote a permanent marker, worst attorney award on the hood of his white Porsche?
I did not use a permanent marker. I was 100% sure that it was an extra marker and that it would wash right off. I am terribly resentful for what I did, and I really tried to apologize, and Mr. Brackman just wasn't there for me to be able to, and I never got that opportunity, and I deeply regret that.
I believe your original response for that was, I didn't use a permanent marker. Is that correct?
I was absolutely positive that it was a whiteboard marker. I mean, I later realized that it was a permanent marker, but at the time, I was 100% sure that it was a whiteboard marker.
Okay, I'll move on. When he found out, Brackman said you would never be on the team again, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And this just made you even angrier, didn't it?
I was frustrated, yeah.
You went home and lied to your mother, saying Brackman kicked you off the team for no reason. Isn't this right?
I didn't lie to my mother. I just didn't tell her that I was kicked off the team.
Do you have her affidavit in front of you?
I can pull it up, yes.
Can you
I
read
have it right here.
line 103 for me?
Sure, give me 1 second. Okay. How much of it do you want me to read?
I believe just line 103. If you want to, you can read 102 and 103 for context if you believe that's necessary.
Okay. Okay. Oh, would you like me to read it out loud?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, I can do that. I'm starting on line 101 just for context.
Okay.
I went home and told my mom that Brackman had got on me again for no good reason. I'd walked out of practice. I didn't tell her what I had done to his car.
So, once again, you lied to your mother and didn't mention anything about what you did to Mr. Brackman's Porsche. Isn't this correct?
Again, as I said in my witness statement, I did not lie to her. I just didn't tell her.
Objection, relevance.
The question's already answered. Can I just move on?
Overruled.
Later, when you tried to apologize to Brackman, he wouldn't speak to you and wouldn't let you back on your team, correct?
His secretary told me that he wasn't there.
And this just made you even angrier, didn't it?
No, not really. I just wanted to apologize to him. I wanted him to know that I was really sorry.
And you weren't at the school the day of the question?
No, I had lost my phone the day before and I was looking for it with Taylor.
Taylor and you are close friends, right?
Yeah.
And you both claim you were together the entire day in question and the day before?
Yes.
So your phone, according to you, is your third kidney, isn't that correct?
That's not in my witness statement.
So how did you not notice that your phone was supposedly missing the entire next day?
I mean, I don't know. I just didn't pay attention.
Are you aware that Detective Markowitz's cell data report put you right next to Bracken's house the day of the murder?
Objection,
don't-
speculation.
Mr. Weisner,
That's my last question. No further questions.
are you withdrawing the
I
last
will-
question?
I will withdraw. I've said what I need to say.
All right, redirect.
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Mr. Brackman did not congratulate you on your awards during the practice after regionals. Wait.
Yes, that's correct.
Before you left this practice, where were you located in the room?
I was located by the whiteboard.
What type of markers are used on a whiteboard?
Whiteboard markers, they're dry erase, so they wipe off really easily.
And you had a mark in your hand at this time?
Yes, I was 100% positive it was a whiteboard marker.
When you left practice, what was in your hand?
A whiteboard marker, although I later learned it was a Sharpie, but I really had no clue.
Let's forward to March 5th, the day before the murder. Did you hand your phone to anyone on this day?
Yes, I gave it to Alex Cifuentes
Why did you hand your phone to this person?
so that she could play a game on it.
Who was the last person you remember having your phone?
Alex Cifuentes,
When was this?
the day before the murder
Where was this?
at the Fry Shack.
Before leaving the Fry Shack, do you recall having your phone with you?
No, I do not.
No further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Becker. You may step down. Any more defense witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would like to call, Taylor Perkins to the stand.
Mr. Perkins?
Okay, guys. Mr. Perkins, please identify yourself for the record.
My name is Taylor Perkins.
Tell the court about yourself.
So I went to Colorado High School at the time of the murder. I was on the mock trial team, and now I'm a freshman at CU Boulder.
Do you know the defendant, Avery Becker?
I do.
What is your relationship with Avery?
Avery and I were pretty close friends.
Let's jump to the day before the murder. On Thursday after school, did you and Avery do anything together?
Yeah, we went to the Fry Shack.
Who else was at the Fry Shack this time?
So the entire mock trial team was at the Fry Shack.
Did you talk with anyone specific while at the Fry Shack?
I did. I talked to Alex.
And after talking with Alex, where did Avery go? Sorry, go on.
Avery was kind of fed up with Alex, and so she went to the bathroom without her phone.
What did you observe? Where did you observe Avery's phone after she left for the bathroom?
So last place I saw it was on the table with Alex.
Once Avery came out of the bathroom, what did you two do?
We still wanted to hang out, and we were kind of fed up with Alex, so we left.
Where did you two go after leaving?
So we went to the mall.
The next morning, the day of the murder, did you go to school?
I did not.
Why not?
I was planning on going to school, and then I didn't really get in contact with Avery, and she lost her phone.
How did you discover that Avery lost her phone?
Excuse me, I was trying to figure out whether or not to carpool with her, and she just wasn't answering her phone.
And what did you and Avery decide to do?
So, she lost her phone, so we tried our best to figure out where it was.
Let's walk through this day. Once you met up with Avery, where did you two first look?
So we were trying to retrace our steps from the night prior, and we first went to the mall.
Did you find the phone at the mall?
Unfortunately, we weren't able to find the phone. We looked everywhere, kind of, and no luck.
After you searched the mall, did you look anywhere else?
So yeah, kind of retracing our steps, we went back to the Fry Shack from the night earlier.
Why did you go back to the Fry Shack?
Well, we kind of assumed that maybe a shift employee found it or something along those lines.
Were you able to find the phone now at the Fry Shack?
We were not. It's still gone.
Once you arrived back at the Fry Shack, who else appeared?
The entire mock trial team appeared, which was kind of surprising.
Why was this so surprising?
It was during mock trial practice, and they were supposed to be at mock trial practice.
What did you observe about the mock trial team about why they were at the Fry Shack so early?
They kind of said that Brackman wasn't there.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
Okay, cross-examination.
So, Taylor, you'd say that you and Avery are best friends, correct?
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Would you say that you and she are inseparable?
I guess you could say that.
Okay. Brackman was always getting on Avery for being lazy, correct?
Kind of something along those lines.
And that was almost every day. Oh, wait, sorry. According to you, Avery never came prepared or showed up a little later to practice almost every day.
Kind of from time to time, but she was always excelled and was better than everyone.
So, okay. Brackman and Avery had a feud between them.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of personal knowledge.
Ms. Herrera?
I'm just asking for the witness's observations.
Okay, why don't you rephrase the question in that way?
Okay. On your observations, did it seem like Avery and Brackman had a feud between them?
I would kind of say so. Something along those lines.
And through your observations, Avery played pranks on the coach?
Kind of.
Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. A month before the final tournament, Avery came to practice almost unprepared every day. Correct?
Yeah, that is correct. But she still performed better than everyone and excelled with what she had.
And this infuriated Mr. Brackman and kicked Avery off the team.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Ms. Herrera?
May I rephrase my question?
Please.
Through your observations, sorry, 1 second. Through your observations, this made Brackman very angry, and this resulted in Avery getting kicked off the team.
That is part of it, yeah.
And through this, Avery retaliated and wrote all over Mr. Brackman's white Porsche and black permanent marker.
Yeah, it was kind of supposed to be like somewhat of a prank. She tried to use an expo marker, and she was very remorseful for what she did.
So then Brackman threw Avery permanently off the team, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Avery reached out to everyone and tried to mend her and Brackman's relationship and try to get back on the team, correct?
That is correct. She tried to apologize in person, but that didn't work too well. So she texted him and then texted everybody on the team to try to make restitution.
And this was including Alex Fuentes.
That is correct.
And you and Avery saw Alex at the Fry Shack the evening the day in the evening before the murder.
That is correct.
And including Alex, was remorseful towards Avery.
That is
Through your
correct.
It is your testimony that you and Avery didn't go to school the next day, correct?
We did not. We were trying to find her phone, and we didn't really have that big of a day, so we just tried to find her phone.
And that was the day of the murder.
That is correct.
Okay. Is it true that Avery had not answered any of your text messages that morning?
That is correct.
And despite being able to, despite being able to find her phone through iCloud, you guys went around driving around looking for it instead, correct?
That is true. I kind of have an Android, so I wasn't really too sure with the whole Apple iCloud thing. So we just looked for it instead.
And okay, isn't it also that you quote that you would never in a million years think that Blair Rollins might have been involved in this murder?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Redirect.
Your Honor, I have a few redirect questions. Mr. Perkins, on the day of the murder, where were you?
On the day of the murder, I went to the mall on the Freishack to try to find Avery's phone.
Throughout the entire day, who was with you?
Avery was with me the entire day, never left my side.
And where was the last place you saw Avery's phone?
So the last place I saw the phone was on the table the night before the murder in the Freishack.
And who was with you when you last saw the phone?
The last person I saw with the phone was Alex Fuentes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Okay, you may step down, Mr. Perkins. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the defense would like to call Mr. Blake Van Owen to the witness stand.
Okay, Blake Van Owen, please take the stand.
Before we begin, may I please request a brief time check?
Sure. Let's see.
You have 14 minutes remaining. Thank you, Ms. Kester. Could you please introduce yourself to the court?
My name is Blake Van Owen.
What do you do for a living?
I teach police practices and social justice at the Community College of the Rockies, CU Denver.
What degrees, if any, do you hold?
Criminal justice from Ashford University.
Where did you work before you became a professor?
The Aurora Police Department.
During your time there, did you become familiar with police practices,
Yes.
police policies,
Yes.
and police procedures?
Yes.
What did you learn during your time there?
I discovered a number of police practices and policies that I don't agree with, which is why I eventually left the department.
In what areas have the courts accepted you as an expert witness?
Police practices, use of force, false arrest, forensic evidence techniques, crime scene reconstruction, cell tower analysis, and general police investigation tactics.
And are these areas pertinent to the present case?
Yes.
Where have you been accepted as a defense expert?
I've been accepted as a defense expert in district courts in Arizona, Colorado, and Kansas, and state courts in Wyoming, Nebraska, and New Mexico.
How many times have you been accepted as an expert witness in crime scene reconstruction?
8 times.
How many times have you been accepted as an expert witness in cell tower analysis?
5 times.
And how many times have you been accepted as an expert witness in general police investigation tactics?
12 times.
And how many cases have you been consulted on regarding these and other topics?
More than 100.
Your Honor, I would like to ask the court to designate Professor Blake Van Owen as an expert in crime scene reconstruction, cell tower analysis, and general police practice in pursuit to Rule 702 of the Colorado Rules of Evidence.
Any voir dire from the prosecution? I'm going to take that as a no, and the court will qualify Professor Van Owen in crime scene reconstruction, general police investigation techniques, forensic evidence techniques, and cell tower analysis.
Thank you, Your Honor. What have you reviewed as a part of your work for this case?
I've reviewed the police reports. I've reviewed the crime scene reconstruction prepared by the prosecution. I've reviewed the cell tower reports. I've reviewed the ring videos, the call detail records, and pretty much everything else.
How does your conclusion differ from CSI Cusack and Detective Markowitz's?
Well, I took into account many areas that had been neglected by the police case, and I believe that their case was extremely rushed.
Why do you believe it was rushed?
Well, they missed a lot of very important details and came to a lot of unconfirmed conclusions.
You're an expert in crime scene reconstruction. Were you able to look at the photos of the blood splatter?
No, I was not.
Why were you not able to?
I was not able to because these photos got corrupted, and this was not any form of espionage or anything. This is just can be chalked up to police incompetence.
Did you review the cell phone records in this case?
Yes.
Can you please describe how cell phones interact with cell towers?
Well, a cell phone will try to connect to the tower that gives it the best connection, but this isn't always necessarily the tower that it is closest to. So, for example, you could be standing right next to a tower, but your phone could decide to connect to one that's miles away. And it is also not unusual for a phone to generate 5 calls from the same location and link up to 5 different towers.
What concrete knowledge do we have about Avery's phone's location?
Well, we know that it had communicated with a cell tower that was in Brackman's area. And if we were to kind of look at this data to kind of like draw a theoretical map, which there's no clear evidence that this path was taken, but if we were to, it would show that Avery went from her house down to Brackman's house.
Can call detail records act like a GPS?
No, they do not show specific locations.
And are cell towers accurate?
Not always. They can often be extremely inaccurate and misleading.
Do you know where Avery's phone was before the murder?
No, Detective Markowitz only got the cell tower records for a limited window of time.
After leaving the Fry Shack on the evening of March 5th, 2020, where did Avery's phone go?
We have no idea, and this is because Detective Markowitz never got these records.
Who was Avery with at the time of the murder?
Taylor Perkins, whose cell tower data was not examined by Detective Markowitz.
What did the cell tower logs relating to Taylor Perkins' phone show?
They show calls and texts that were made from Taylor Perkins' phone that were relayed from antennae 2 and 3, and these calls were very short, and both the text messages and calls received no response.
Based on your examination of the cell tower data in this case, can you tell who had Avery Becker's phone on the day of the murder?
No, I cannot.
Did you have a chance to look at the alleged screenshots of the text they claim from Alex Cifuentes' phone?
Yes, I have.
How was Detective Markowitz's method of examining the screenshots of the text conversation faulty?
Well, screenshots can be problematic because they could be easily doctored and faked. The way these text messages the data from the text message should have been downloaded or gotten was through mobile forensic software. I know that the Denver police uses a program called Cellbrite, so they should have just hooked up the phone to the program and easily download the text message information from the phone. However, they decided it would be okay to go against procedures and just look at these screenshots, which again can be easily faked and doctored, and we have no idea if this text message exchange even happened.
Did the Denver police ever investigate Alex Cifuentes' phone?
No.
I'm going to move on now to talking about motives in this case. Do you know of anyone else with a motive to kill Mackenzie Brackman?
The daughter of one of Brackman's former clients. The daughter's name is Blair Rollins, and her father's name is Jonathan Rollins.
Why would Blair Rollins have a motive?
Well, her father, Jonathan Rollins, had been charged with murder and had Brackman as an attorney, but was ultimately sentenced to life in prison.
Professor Van Owens, I'm now referring you to what has been marked as Exhibit 22 on page 89. What is Exhibit 22?
Exhibit 22 is a chilling audio recording of the court proceedings during Jonathan Rollins' case.
Do you recognize Exhibit 22?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
I recognize it because I have listened to the recordings.
Is Exhibit 22 a true and accurate representation of the language Jonathan Rollins used towards Mackenzie Brackman as you heard it?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would like to move to admit Exhibit 22 into evidence.
Any objection?
Hearsay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So is your objection is that the audio recording or the contents of the audio recording are hearsay?
Yeah.
Your
Ms.
Honor,
Goldman?
Your Honor, may we constructively approach?
Yes.
Your Honor, the statement as recorded is the defendant, Mr. Rollins, yelling at his attorney, Mackenzie Brackman, immediately following his conviction. Your Honor, the people believe this statement is permissible to the following acceptance, which would be excited utterance. Mr. Rollins was convicted of murder and sent to prison, and was sent to prison. In addition, this statement is also excited. My apologies. This statement was also the declarant's then existing mental and emotional state, as the declarant had planned to get back and kill Mr. Brackman. In addition, this follows Rule 703, as experts can rely on hearsay in formulating their expert opinions. This expert is going to opine, has opined, and is opining because the investigation in this case is flawed because the police department didn't properly investigate alternative suspects.
Overruled. I'll allow it.
Your Honor, I would also like to move to publish Exhibit 22.
Granted.
Could my co-counsel please play the audio recording?
I'll get you back, Brackman, if it's the last thing I do.
Thank you. Professor Van Owens, can you identify the voice in the audio recording?
That is Jonathan Rollins.
At what point in the proceedings did Jonathan Rollins make this statement?
This was after he received a life sentence in prison.
Have you listened to other parts of the audio recording that are not in Exhibit 22?
Yes, I have.
And what was going on in that part of the recording?
In that part of the recording, Blair Rollins was testifying on her father's behalf, which is important because it lets us know that Blair Rollins was present during that court case, which means that she heard her father threaten Brackman.
Was Blair Rollins at school on March 6, 2020, the day of the murder?
No.
How do you know this?
I know this because I've done an extensive search using investigative methods and online resources and have not been able to locate Blair Rollins.
Do you know of anyone else who has searched for Blair Rollins?
No, and this includes the prosecution who neglected to investigate and look into this obvious alternate suspect.
Thank you, Professor Van Owens. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
All right, Mr. Van Owen, you're no longer an Aurora police officer, are you?
Yes, I left.
You left that job after allegations that you were racist, correct?
No, not exactly. I had injured a woman of color during an arrest. However, I was officially cleared of wrongdoing and left on my own accord to kind of go against these police practices and procedures that I realized I didn't agree with.
That case ended up as a settlement between that victim, you, and the city, correct?
Yes, however, I am not able to disclose this settlement.
Isn't it true that you disagree with many police policies and that those regarding force?
Yes, that would be accurate.
This whole situation disillusioned you with police work and policemen, didn't it?
Yes.
After leaving the force, you bounced around with different jobs like security guard, a school resource officer, and some private investigations, correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
You never went to FBI training though, did you?
No FBI training.
You never went to the crime scene investigation, or you never went to a crime scene investigation school either, did you?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance. We've already established Professor Van Owens as an expert. I don't know why we're still trying to figure out if he's credible.
Ms. Saley?
I'm just trying to say that he didn't really, do that much when he got that he didn't really do much to get as an expert.
I understand the line of questioning. I'm going to sustain the objection, however. You could move on.
All right. You never trained with AT&T, Apple, or T-Mobile on cell tower programs, have you?
No, I've never worked with any cell phone service companies.
In fact, all of your so-called expertise comes from your brief experience as a school resource officer, PI, and your schooling at Ashford University's online program, correct?
All of that experience on top of research that I've done on my own for cases extremely similar to this one.
Now, Mr. Van Owen, isn't it true that a good investigator takes their time and goes through the evidence very thoroughly?
Yes.
And this is so, and that's to find the truth. The truth, one must be exact. Hold on. Okay, sorry. This is because to find the truth, one must be thorough and exact, correct?
Yes.
All right. Anything less than being thorough and detailed would be unworthy of consideration, correct?
Yes, which is what I've been talking about this entire time against the prosecution's case, where I point out areas where they have missed important details.
Juries need to have the most thorough and exact evidence to make their decisions, correct?
Yes.
Now you are being paid by the defense, correct?
Yes, this is my job, so I am being paid.
And isn't it true you always testify for the defense?
Yes, and this is through no choice of my own. This is through the nature of my profession and work, because what I will do for the defense is what police will do for the prosecution for free.
And you like to think of yourself as a check on the power of the police, don't you?
Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, I kind of disagree with a lot of their practices, procedures, and everything else. So yes, that would be accurate.
According to you, you make a decent living trying to show that the police have dropped the ball, correct?
Yes, and I believe I am doing that very well in this case right now.
And when investigating this case, you only looked at the police reports, didn't you?
Well, I mean, I also looked at call detail records, ring videos, crime scene reconstruction, everything.
In the police reports, right?
Yes, I did look at the police reports in addition with everything else.
Okay. You never once went to the scene of the crime, did you?
No, I did visit the scene of the crime.
Okay. Never went to the cell tower locations personally, did you?
No, I did not personally visit the cell towers.
In fact, you never recreated the scenario by putting a phone in the location indicated by the police to test your theory, did you?
No, I did not do that. However, like I was talking about earlier, they can be very unpredictable. So any test run like that would not necessarily have similar results to what had been going on pertaining to this case.
So basically, you're being paid by the defense to simply look at reports and not really investigate, correct?
No, I did do much investigation, including going to the scene of the crime and looking into the into Blair Rollins. So no, I would not say that is accurate.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Redirect.
I have a couple redirect questions, Your Honor. Were you cleared of your charges at the Aurora Police Department?
Yes.
And were you ever able to get over this incident?
So I never officially, I officially got cleared of wrongdoing. However, personally, I've kind of, that moment is what made me realize that a lot of police practices and procedures are, well, I believe them to not be correct.
I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Professor Van Owen, you may step down. Any additional witnesses for the defense?
The defense rests their case, Your Honor.
Thank you. And we will head into closing arguments. Prosecution?
Your Honor, I would like to reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal or however much time is left.
Granted.
All right. Rage, rivalry, revenge. Rage, rivalry, revenge. Rage, rivalry, and revenge led to second-degree burglary and first-degree murder. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today we talk about the case of a young man boiling with rage and arrogance. Avery Becker was a selfish, self-absorbed, and determined to get his way. Avery Becker had irrational jealousy that led to the murder of his professor, Mackenzie Brackman. To better understand how this all led to burglary and murder, let me just give you some background. Avery Becker competed on his high school mock trial team by all accounts, Avery was a gifted and talented mock trial lawyer. However, his ego led him to believe that he was better than his real-life lawyer coach, Mackenzie Brackman. Avery believed that he didn't have to work hard at his craft or do any extra practice or work much on his assignments. Avery's arrogance peaked when he won the Best Attorney Award at regionals. He became even more complacent and wouldn't put in the practice that the other students were doing. And when Coach Brackman confronted him and challenged him to work harder and be a better team member, he became angry and quit the team and left angrily. Even Avery will tell you that he was really angry or frustrated at Mr. Brackman, and that she vandalized Brackman's white Porsche car, writing on it "Worst Attorney Award" with a black Sharpie. When Mr. Brackman refused to let her back on the team, Avery texted her best friend, Avery Becker, that he was going to go to Brackman's house and vandalize it. If Brackman thinks he was upset about what happened to his car, wait until what he sees what I do to his house. Those words clearly show his intent to commit burglary, and her subsequent actions once in the house show her intent to commit first-degree murder. On March 6th, and ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what she did. Those words clearly, on March 6, 2020, she broke into the house with a plan to vandalize it. Mr. Brackman was still at the home though, and Brackman confronted her. A fight began. The evidence will show that the two of them struggled and that Avery stabbed him with a butcher knife. You have now heard the testimony from several experts, and like in all these cases, experts differ on almost everything. But we believe that what cannot be debated is the clear evidence. One, that Avery had clear opportunity and motive, and that Avery's cell phone data shows that Avery was in the area of Mr. Brackman's house at the time of the murder, and that Avery can fit the description of the attackers, as evidence will see in the security cameras at the house. The defense tried to paint a picture that Avery's motive was weak compared to the others. The key is that they didn't show that there was no motive. They were not able to dispute the cell tower data, and the defense did not provide you with anything to back this theory up except for speculation. This case is straightforward. Rage, resentment, and rivalry led to the murder of Mackenzie Brackman. Avery Becker must be held accountable, and we ask that you return a verdict of guilty of burglary and murder. Thank you.
Thank you. Team Kermit, closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor, we have a closing argument. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is on the prosecution to prove that our client is guilty. Avery Becker had no burden to prove herself as innocent. Now, the defense technically doesn't have a duty to do anything, but we did. We, the defense, provided evidence to dispute and to bring you all to light about the doubts that exist around this case. We showed you everything to make sure that all the things the prosecution failed to tell you, you knew. The evidence and testimonies of witnesses show that Avery Becker has fallen victim due to corrupt, uncertain, and inconclusive evidence. Throughout this case, you have been exposed to fake texts, corrupt photos, and vague assumptions that the prosecutions hoped you will not think too much about. We have come to you so that someone who is a victim of circumstance isn't split from family and friends right out of high school. You must be certain, beyond a reasonable doubt, that this young, aspiring person could have done such a deed. According to the expert witness, Professor Blake Van Owen, cell towers are just not accurate. Avery didn't even have her phone on her at the time. No one can conclusively prove where Avery's phone or Avery was. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a burden of proof the prosecution must prove. Does the height and build of a masked, cloaked, unknown stranger prove to you that Avery killed this man? Is there any physical proof that proves that Avery was in that home? This isn't a home invasion gone wrong. If it was, the perpetrator would have just left if someone was in the home. The person went into Brackman's house, premeditated. If you look closely at exhibits 1 and 4, you can see that Mr. Brackman's right arm is in 2 different places. Here, above his head, and here, a different position above his head. With these photos, you can see the crime scene has clearly been tampered with and moved around. It doesn't matter who moved the body or for what reasons, the body was moved while the pictures were being taken, and there's yet another piece to add to this botched investigation. Key photos and blood droplets were lost and corrupted after maybe one person saw them. No one can confirm what witness Kyle Kuzak testified about. He even showed up to the crime scene after it was processed. Prosecution witness Kyle Kuzak also claims that the person has a similar height and build to Avery. Plenty of other people had the opportunity to murder Brackman. Never once did they consider that is also the height and build of Blair Rollins, overlooking another key piece of evidence. The investigation that was done regarding the death of Mackenzie Brackman did no justice for him. They will deny the correct justice for a man who defended so many others. We know that Brackman was a criminal defense attorney. Brackman was a lawyer that the police did not like. The lead detective, Detective Markowitz, has a faulty personal connection with Brackman. They would have rushed the investigation so the death of a lawyer, a defender of people, would be over and forgotten quickly. During Blake Van Owen's testimony, we know that Blair was not at school the day of the murder either. And Blake also told us that Blair hated Brackman for sending her dad to prison. Motive and opportunity right there. Blair disappeared a day before the murder, and yet the police did not feel necessary to look into him as a suspect. Avery loved mock trial, and she has the awards to prove it. She dedicated her entire high school to mock trial, so why would she kill the person who helped her grow this passion so much? Avery would not do anything to jeopardize the spark of hers. People of the courtroom, the defense came before you to show you all of the areas of doubt in this case. This is a case about all the things we don't know. There was no identifying physical evidence at the crime scene. We don't know how the text messages came to be. Blood droplet photos were corrupted, and key suspects were overlooked. It all adds up to a bad investigation, and that is reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt means a doubt which arises from a fair and rational consideration of all the evidence, or the lack of evidence in the case. Seeing everything we showed you, we, the defense, ask that you, the court, return a verdict of not guilty on account of the reasonable doubt evident in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Any rebuttal from the prosecution?
Yes. So Avery had a clear opportunity, and as everyone has established, in this case, there was obvious tension between Avery and Mr. Brackman, and Avery was also clearly enraged with the coach by writing Worst Attorney Award on his white portion permanent Sharpie, and by even showing up or saying that he was going to show up at Brackman's house. Rage, resentment, and revenge led to Avery Becker murdering Mr. Brackman. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. This concludes